Welcome to Season 3, Episode 8 of Angela Watson's Truth for Teachers. I'm your host, Angela Watson, and I'm here to speak life, encouragement, and truth into the minds and hearts of educators and get you energized for the week ahead. Today, I'm going to share some thoughts on whether teachers should reward students for doing things that they're supposed to do. Visit truthforteachers.com to get the transcript, links to recommended resources, and to share your thoughts on the show. So, I wanted to do an episode about how to reward students responsibly, how to reward them in a way that considers the long-term results and the type of character and work ethic that we're building in kids, not just how to get compliance here in the moment. And I realized that before I could even do something like that, I needed to first address the question of whether teachers should be rewarding kids at all, because reward has become a bad word in many education circles. Let me start with a story. I once had a district science administrator conduct a surprise walkthrough in my classroom during my lunch period. She was looking for evidence of science inquiry teaching. How she was going to do that during lunchtime, I don't know, don't ask. The kids happened to be eating in the classroom with me that day, and they were watching a district-approved movie. She was surprised that they weren't in the cafeteria. And so I exclaimed really loudly so the whole class could hear, "These students completed every one of their homework assignments for the entire week, so they get to spend their Friday lunch block eating with me in the room." I beamed. I was so excited. Kids beamed. They were super excited. They're looking up at her for approval. And the administrator just put like this fake grin on her face and this over-enthusiastic tone that was just dripping with sarcasm. And she says, "Wow, you guys are so lucky. You get rewarded for doing what you're supposed to do." And everyone just froze. The kids just like, their smiles faltered. They looked over at me. No one had any idea how to react. And the first thought that popped into my head was, "Excuse me, Mrs. Science Bureaucrat. I literally wrote the book on classroom management. Are you questioning how I reward my students? I motivated 21 out of 24 students in a Title I school to completely do all of their homework assignments for an entire week, accurately, I might add, and they are proud of themselves. They are proud of their hard work. I gave up my lunch break to reinforce their efforts and show them that I value the time and effort that they spent practicing their skills at home. How dare you undermine what's working for students that you've seen for less than 15 seconds? But my second, wiser thought was that I didn't need to defend what I knew was best practice. So I didn't change my facial expression. I just kept smiling at her and I said, "They are hard workers. They earned it." Now that day was when I realized just how pervasive the backlash against rewards has become in some educational circles. And unfortunately, the trend is still gaining momentum. Rewarding students has become passé. Students are supposed to give 100% effort every day, all day, because they have developed intrinsic motivation and understand the inherent value of their work, which is not a difficult task since teachers always give relevant, inherently rewarding tasks that they are passionate about completing, right? I mean, I love this concept in theory. I love the idea of kids always being having intrinsic motivation and doing these super valuable things, tasks that they're just so motivated to complete. But that's not reality in most classrooms. Sure, we want students to be actively engaged in authentic real-world tasks that prepare them to be global citizens. But we all know that many students are relegated to taking multiple choice assessments and practicing for standardized tests for a good chunk of their school day. And teachers are mandated by their districts to keep it that way. So, what is the incentive for a student to pay full attention and give 100% on the same mundane tasks every day? I mean, we can talk education reform until we turn blue in the face. Obviously, that's the solution here. But in the meantime, change is slow to come to schools. In the meantime, what are we doing to our students? We have to recognize that kids need to have an incentive to work hard in this current learning environment. Apathy is a bigger problem in today's classrooms than ever before. And we can't sidestep the need for incentives and rewards by pretending that students are consistently engaged in authentic learning tasks. The era of accountability demands otherwise. Much of the anti-rewards fervor is stemming from this pretense that any teacher can create a highly engaging learning environment in which all students are intrinsically motivated 100% of the time. It's simply not true. Now, the other root cause of why reward systems have fallen out of favor is the overuse and misuse of incentives as a common educational practice for so many years. And this is rightly so. It is disturbing to encounter a classroom full of students who constantly ask, what do we get if we do this? I hate that question. What do we get? It's disturbing to walk into a classroom and see students who will only act like civilized human beings in exchange for a trip to the prize box. I think we can all agree that bribing students with candy and stickers is not a sound long-term strategy for motivating learners. But that approach is quite different from recognizing hard work and recognizing outstanding actions with a well-timed, related reward. Somehow, in our shift away from the use of prizes and treats, we've thrown the baby out with the bathwater. Heaven help the person who utters the word reward without prefacing it every single time by saying, of course, the ultimate goal is to produce intrinsic motivation, so rewards should be non-tangible, used sparingly, and eventually removed altogether. Now, there's also a vocal minority of people who will argue that rewards don't prepare students for the real world. They'll say things like, you don't get a reward from your boss for showing up to work on time each day and doing what you're supposed to do. But we do. It's called a paycheck, right? I mean, come on, teaching is a tremendously hard job. Not many of us would keep putting in those long hours if we weren't getting paid. We as adults have financial rewards for putting in long hours of sustained effort on difficult tasks. And even then, it's not enough sometimes. Some of us lose our motivation because we're not getting other perks. We're not getting encouragement. No one is recognizing our hard work. We feel underappreciated. And we have a small financial reward. So you see, teachers of all people know what it feels like to have hard work go unrecognized and uncompensated. Why would we want our students to experience that day after day? The little rewards that we're given as teachers are what keep us going sometimes. The occasional catered staff lunch, or an announcement that teachers can go home early on a Friday afternoon. These little gestures of appreciation are most effective when some are unexpected surprises and others are planned so that we have something to look forward to. A thank you note from a parent or administrator, or a half-dead bouquet of dandelions from an enthusiastic student. These are all little things, little gestures of appreciation, little rewards that can make us happier to complete the hard parts of our job. Simple rewards are how we know that someone's paying attention and that our efforts matter. So why wouldn't our students feel the same way? Is a compliment and an extra 5 minutes of recess really the worst thing in the world? I am advocating for the return of the reward. And in next week's episode, I'm going to share how to do it in a way that is responsible and effective in the long term. I'm going to leave you with a quote from Catherine Pulsifer, and this is your takeaway truth for the week ahead. Always be generous with your encouraging words. You may find they will inspire others to be the best they can be. So when you see a job well done in your classroom, don't be afraid to recognize it. Head over to thecornerstoneforteachers.com/S3EP9, that's for Season 3, Episode 9, and leave your thoughts on this topic in the comments. And if you want to find out what happened with that science administrator who thought it was ridiculous for me to let my kids eat lunch in the room with me as a reward, check out the first comment on that post. I'll give you the update. Thanks for listening. Have a fantastic week. You can do this. And remember, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be worth it. Truth for Teachers is a proud member of the Education Podcast Network. Podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. For more great podcast recommendations, go to edupodcastnetwork.com. That's edupodcastnetwork.com.